The transport ship's engines hummed steadily as it cut through the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Staff Sergeant Maria Santos checked her watch and glanced at the 4 other soldiers sleeping in their crash seats. The routine supply run to the outer mining stations had become so common that most crews treated it like a bus ride. Santos wasn't most crews. The Navy SEAL kept her eyes moving, scanning the small viewport for anything unusual. Beside her, Corporal Jake Mitchell stirred awake. The Marine's instincts kicked in the moment his eyes opened, and he immediately assessed his surroundings before speaking. "How long was I out?" Mitchell asked quietly. "About 2 hours. We should reach Ceres Station in another 4, Santos replied, her voice barely above a whisper. The other 3 soldiers continued sleeping. Private Chun, an Army communications specialist, had his tablet still clutched in his hands. Sergeants Williams and Rodriguez, both infantry, had managed to wedge themselves into comfortable positions despite the cramped quarters. Mitchell unbuckled his harness and moved to the small galley area. The transport was civilian, not military, so the amenities were better than what they were used to. He poured himself coffee from the dispenser and offered one to Santos. "Thanks," she said, accepting the cup. "Something feels off about this run, yeah?" Mitchell settled back into his seat. "What's got your spider sense tingling?" "Too quiet. Command assigns 5 soldiers to escort medical supplies to a routine mining operation. Doesn't add up?" Before Mitchell could respond, the ship lurched violently. Emergency lights bathed the cabin in red as alarms blared. The sleeping soldiers jerked awake, instantly alert despite their grogginess. "What the hell was that?" Williams demanded, checking his sidearm. The intercom crackled to life. Captain Harrison's voice was tight with fear. "Unknown contacts just dropped out of hyperspace. 3 ships, configuration unknown. They're huge." Santos moved to the cockpit viewport and felt her blood run cold. The ships weren't just big, they were massive. Each one had to be at least 2 kilometers long, with sleek hull designs unlike anything in human space. Strange patterns of light pulsed along their surfaces. "Captain, evasive maneuvers," she ordered. "Already trying, Sergeant. They're jamming our communications and... Oh God, they're targeting us with some kind of tractor beam?" The ship shuddered as an invisible force gripped it. Through the viewport, Santos watched helplessly as they were pulled toward the largest alien vessel. A bay door opened in its hull, revealing a cavernous interior lit by an eerie blue glow. "Everyone gear up," Santos commanded. "Whatever happens next, we stick together." The soldiers quickly donned their tactical vests and checked their weapons. Each carried a standard M4 carbine along with their sidearms. Mitchell had his combat knife, while Santos carried additional gadgets that her SEAL training had taught her to never leave behind. The transport ship was drawn into the alien vessel and set down on what appeared to be a docking platform. The artificial gravity felt slightly heavier than Earth normal. Outside the viewports, they could see movement, tall, elongated figures approaching their ship. "Scanning shows the atmosphere is breathable," Chun reported from his tablet. "But the temperature is about 15 degrees warmer than we'd like." A deep thrumming sound echoed through the ship's hull. Captain Harrison emerged from the cockpit, his face pale. "They're cutting through the airlock. Whatever you're going to do, decide fast." Santos looked at her team. "We play this smart. No heroics unless absolutely necessary. Let's see what they want." The airlock door glowed orange, then white-hot as something sliced through it. It fell inward with a crash, and the aliens entered. They were tall, perhaps 7 feet, with gray skin that seemed to shimmer slightly. Their heads were elongated, with large dark eyes and no visible nose. They wore form-fitting suits that looked more grown than manufactured. Each carried what was obviously a weapon, sleek devices that hummed with contained energy. The lead alien spoke, and somehow the words formed in their minds rather than through their ears. "Humans, you will come with us. Resistance is futile." "Well, that's original," Mitchell muttered under his breath, earning a sharp look from Santos. "We're citizens of the United Earth Federation," Santos said aloud. "By what authority are you detaining us?" The alien's large eyes fixed on her. "Your species is under evaluation. You will be studied. More aliens entered the transport. They moved with an odd, flowing grace that made it hard to predict their actions. One gestured at the humans with its weapon, clearly indicating they should move. Captain Harrison started to protest, but the alien nearest him simply pointed its device at his chest. A blue beam emerged, and the captain collapsed unconsciously but apparently unharmed. Cooperation is preferred, the lead alien communicated, but not required. Santos made a quick decision. We'll come quietly. No need for more of that. The soldiers were escorted through corridors that defied human architectural sense. The walls curved in impossible ways, and the lighting seemed to come from everywhere at once. Strange symbols flowed across surfaces like living text. They passed through several chambers filled with incomprehensible machinery before reaching what was clearly a holding area. Individual cells with transparent barriers lined both sides of a wide hallway. Each cell was about 10 feet square with a simple sleeping platform and basic facilities. You will be separated for initial processing, the lead alien announced. Do not attempt escape. The consequences would be ... educational. Santos caught Mitchell's eye and gave him a barely perceptible nod. He understood. They would play along for now, gather intelligence, and wait for their opportunity. The aliens placed each human in a separate cell. Santos found herself next to Chun, while Mitchell was positioned across the hallway between Williams and Rodriguez. They could see each other through the transparent barriers, but couldn't communicate freely with the aliens monitoring them. Over the next several hours, each soldier was taken individually for what the aliens called evaluation. Santos went first. She was led to a sterile chamber where strange instruments scanned her from head to toe. The aliens asked questions through their telepathic communication about human military capabilities. Earth's defenses, technological development. Santos answered truthfully but carefully, providing only information that was already public knowledge. She mentioned Earth's Space Force, the Mars colonies, and the asteroid mining operations, but said nothing about classified military installations or weapon systems when she returned to her cell. Mitchell was taken next. The Marine proved equally tight-lipped during his session. The aliens seemed frustrated by the humans' limited cooperation but continued their methodical evaluation process. It became clear that these aliens had been observing humanity for some time. They knew about human expansion into the solar system and seemed particularly interested in military capabilities. During Chin's evaluation, the aliens focused on communication systems and electronic warfare capabilities. Williams and Rodriguez faced questions about infantry tactics and ground combat techniques. The aliens seemed puzzled by human concepts like unit cohesion and battlefield loyalty. They don't understand why we fight for each other, Rodriguez whispered to Williams when he returned from his session. The cell's barriers dampened sound but didn't eliminate it entirely. After all 5 humans had been processed, the lead alien returned with several others. Its mental voice carried an unmistakable tone of superiority. Your species is remarkably primitive, it announced. Your technology is crude, your social organization inefficient. Yet you have spread throughout your star system with surprising speed? We're persistent, Santos replied evenly. Persistence without intelligence is meaningless. Your military capabilities are laughably inadequate. A single ship of our construction could eliminate your entire space fleet. Mitchell leaned forward in his cell. Then why are you here studying us instead of just wiping us out? The alien paused, as if considering whether to answer. The Galaxy Alliance requires comprehensive data before determining a species' fate. Some primitive races are suitable for labor. Others provide useful biological material. A few demonstrate sufficient potential to serve in auxiliary roles. And which category do humans fall into? Santos asked. That remains to be determined. However, initial analysis suggests you are best suited for physical labor. Your species appears to have developed remarkable endurance capabilities. The aliens left them alone for what seemed like hours. The soldiers used the time to observe their surroundings more carefully. The holding area was clearly designed for multiple species. Some cells were much larger. Others seemed to have different atmospheric controls. In the cell next to Santos, Shane had been working quietly on something. When the aliens weren't visible, he showed her a small device he'd constructed from components of his tablet and personal equipment. "Signal booster," he whispered. "Won't penetrate their jamming, but it might let us communicate with each other more clearly." Santos nodded approvingly. Her SEAL training had taught her that even captured, a soldier's mission continued. Gather intelligence, maintain unit integrity, and prepare for escape opportunities. The aliens returned with additional equipment. They began setting up what looked like more sophisticated scanning devices throughout the holding area. The first test began 12 hours later. Santos was pulled from her cell and escorted to a chamber that looked like a cross between a gymnasium and a laboratory. Strange apparatus lined the walls, and the floor was marked with glowing patterns that meant nothing to her human eyes. 3 aliens observed from behind a transparent barrier as the lead researcher's mental voice filled her head. Physical capability assessment. Navigate the obstacle course while under temporal pressure. The floor shifted, rising and falling, to create a complex maze of barriers, pits, and climbing surfaces. Red lights began flashing in a pattern that Santos quickly recognized as a countdown. She had approximately 2 minutes to reach the far end of the chamber. What the aliens hadn't anticipated was 40 years of human, military obstacle course design. Santos moved with fluid efficiency, using techniques learned in SEAL training. She vaulted over barriers instead of climbing them, used momentum to swing across gaps, and found handholds on surfaces that appeared smooth to alien eyes. She completed the course with 30 seconds to spare. The aliens' agitation was obvious even without their telepathic communication. Their postures had changed, and they were exchanging rapid gestures among themselves. "Anomalous performance," the lead researcher finally communicated. "Repeat assessment with increased difficulty parameters." The course reconfigured itself into something far more challenging. This time, Santos had to navigate while sections of the floor moved independently, creating an unstable, constantly changing environment. Most species would have struggled with the shifting surfaces. Santos adapted instantly. Her SEAL training had included operations on moving ships in rough seas. She read the pattern of the floor's movement, anticipated changes, and used them to her advantage. When a section tilted toward a gap, she rode it like a skateboard to gain extra speed. Where others might have seen chaos, she found rhythm. She completed the second course even faster than the first. "Impossible," came the researcher's mental voice, no longer directed at Santos, but apparently spoken to its colleagues. Galactic. Average performance on Configuration 7 is 47% failure rate. This specimen achieved optimal results. Santos was returned to her cell, where she found Mitchell had already undergone his own testing. The Marine's expression told her everything she needed to know. He'd impressed their captors as well. "Combat simulation," he whispered as they passed in the corridor. "They put me against 3 of their warrior drones. I took all 3 down using basic hand-to-hand. Over the next day, each human underwent multiple assessments. Hyun surprised the aliens with his rapid adaptation to their technology interfaces. When presented with alien control systems, he didn't just learn to operate them. He improved their efficiency by rerouting data pathways in ways the original designers hadn't considered. Williams and Rodriguez faced tactical scenarios that pitted them against simulated alien military units. The aliens had expected human soldiers to rely on brute force and superior firepower. Instead, they watched as the 2 sergeants used terrain, misdirection, and coordinated timing to defeat enemies that vastly outnumbered them. The aliens became increasingly agitated. Their confident assessments of human limitations were proving completely wrong. The lead researcher's communications to the monitoring team became more frequent and urgent. Santos noticed the change in their captors' behavior during the 3rd day. The aliens moved with less fluid grace and more jerky uncertainty. Their technological superiority meant nothing if they couldn't predict or understand their subjects' capabilities. That evening, Santos was taken to a new chamber for what the aliens called cognitive evaluation. Instead of physical challenges, she faced a series of problems projected as holographic displays. Mathematical puzzles, logic sequences, pattern recognition tests. The first few were straightforward. Santos solved them quickly and accurately. Then the patterns became more complex, incorporating alien mathematical concepts that didn't translate directly to human understanding. Rather than become frustrated, Santos began looking for underlying principles. Human military training emphasized adaptability and creative problem-solving. If traditional approaches didn't work, you found new ones. She started solving the alien problems by treating them as tactical scenarios. Each mathematical relationship became a unit deployment. Every logical sequence became a mission timeline. The aliens had designed these tests for minds that thought linearly. Santos thought like a soldier planning for multiple contingencies. The holographic displays began cycling faster. Presenting increasingly complex scenarios, Santos kept pace. Her confidence growing as she recognized that alien intelligence, while advanced, was remarkably rigid. They were brilliant at optimizing known solutions but struggled with genuinely creative approaches. Assessment parameters exceeded. The lead researcher announced after Santos completed a puzzle that was apparently designed to be unsolvable. Cognitive flexibility demonstrates unprecedented adaptation potential. When Santos returned to the holding area, she found her teammates engaged in quiet conversation. Chun had managed to modify his signal booster, creating a communication network that the aliens' monitoring systems couldn't detect. "They're scared," Mitchell whispered through the improvised communication system. "I can see it in how they move. We're not performing the way their data predicted." "Rodriguez and I have been mapping guard rotations," Williams added. "They're getting sloppy. Confidence is down." "Chun's figured out their door locks," Rodriguez continued. "Given the right moment, he can get us out of these cells." Santos processed this information quickly. "They mentioned we're being evaluated for the entire human species. Whatever conclusion they reach affects all of humanity. So we need to make sure they reach the right conclusion," Mitchell said grimly. The opportunity came sooner than expected. On the fourth day, instead of individual testing, all 5 humans were brought to a large arena-like chamber. The space was enormous, with multiple levels, environmental zones, and what looked like defensive positions throughout. "Final assessment," the lead researcher announced to the assembled group. "Collaborative problem-solving under extreme stress. You will face 3 challenger scenarios simultaneously while defending a position marked by the blue beacon." A soft blue light appeared on a platform in the center of the arena. Around the chamber's perimeter, Santos could see alien observers behind protective barriers. This wasn't just a test. It was a demonstration for whoever made decisions about humanity's fate. "You have access to basic equipment caches scattered throughout the environment," the researcher continued. "Success requires reaching the beacon and maintaining position for 1 full-time cycle while countering all 3 challenge scenarios." The test began immediately. From one side of the arena, mechanical combat drones emerged, sleek, fast-moving units with energy weapons. From another direction, the environment itself began changing, with toxic gas emissions and extreme temperature zones spreading across the floor. The third challenge became apparent when sections of the arena began moving, creating a shifting maze between the humans and their objective. The aliens expected the humans to charge directly toward the beacon, fighting their way through each challenge individually. Instead, Santos immediately took command, and her team responded with practiced military precision. "Sean, find us equipment." Williams and Rodriguez, scouting Pattern Alpha. "Mitchell, you're with me." The soldiers spread out, but not randomly. Santos had quickly analyzed the arena and recognized it as essentially an urban warfare environment. The multiple challenges were designed to overwhelm opponents who couldn't coordinate effectively. Chun located the first equipment cache and immediately began inventorying resources. Instead of weapons, the cache contained basic tools and materials. Apparently, the aliens expected most species to use crude, direct approaches. "Santos, I've got construction materials, basic electronics, and what looks like portable shield generators," Chun reported through their communication network. "Rodriguez here, the combat drones have a patrol pattern. They're not adapting to our movements." "Williams, the environmental hazards follow predictable cycles. I can plot safe routes." Santos smiled grimly. The aliens had designed a test that required exactly the kind of flexible, coordinated thinking that human military training emphasized. They expected their subjects to panic under pressure. Instead, they were watching a demonstration of why humans had conquered every hostile environment on their homeworld. "Mitchell, we're not going to the beacon," Santos announced. The Marine didn't question the decision. "What's the plan?" "We're going to show them what human tactical doctrine really looks like. Chun, I need you to reverse engineer those shield generators. Williams, plot me a route that uses the environmental hazards as cover. Rodriguez, I want timing data on the drone patrols." "Already working on it," Chun replied. His fingers flew over the alien technology with growing confidence. "These shields are incredibly advanced, but the control protocols are actually simpler than human systems." Santos began implementing a strategy that the aliens clearly hadn't anticipated. Instead of fighting their way to the objective, her team started turning the arena's challenges against each other. Chun modified the shield generators to redirect the arena's ENV. The Galaxy Alliance decision came without warning. Santos was awakened by the sound of multiple alien guards entering the holding area. Their movements were different, more aggressive, more purposeful. Behind them came several aliens she hadn't seen before, wearing what appeared to be ceremonial robes and carrying additional equipment. "Final determination has been reached," the lead researcher announced to all 5 humans simultaneously. "Species classification, extreme threat level, immediate termination authorized." Mitchell was instantly alert in his cell. Well, that escalated quickly. "The humans demonstrate tactical capabilities that exceed established parameters," one of the robed aliens communicated. "Their adaptation rate and coordination efficiency pose significant risks to Alliance stability." Santos felt her blood run cold. Humanity was about to be condemned not for being too primitive, but for being too capable. "You're making a mistake. Humans aren't interested in conquering other species." "Irrelevant," the robed alien replied. "Capability indicates intent. Your species' rapid expansion and military efficiency suggest inevitable aggression toward Alliance territories." "That's not how humans work," Rodriguez called out from his cell. "We defend ourselves, but we're not conquerors. Historical data from Alliance records indicates otherwise. Species demonstrating similar tactical adaptation rates have invariably become aggressive expansionists within 12 solar cycles of first contact." Chun had been working quietly on something since the guards entered. Through their hidden communication network, he whispered urgently, "I can get us out, but we need a distraction." Santos made a quick decision. If humanity was going to be judged on their capabilities, she would make sure the Galaxy Alliance understood exactly what human capabilities look like. "Before you execute your sentence," she announced loudly, "I request the right to address the Alliance leadership directly." The aliens paused, clearly not expecting this response. "You are specimens under evaluation. You have no rights under Alliance law." "Then I invoke combat challenge," Santos continued, drawing on her knowledge of military history. "If you're going to condemn our species as warriors, prove your own species' superiority in combat." Mitchell caught on immediately. "She's right. You want to judge human military capabilities? Face us in combat and see for yourself." The robed aliens exchanged rapid communications among themselves. Their body language suggested significant disagreement. Finally, the lead researcher's mental voice returned. "Combat challenge is ... irregular, however. It falls within acceptable Alliance protocols for disputed classifications." "Standard terms," Santos pressed. 5-on-5 engagement, neutral arena, personal weapons only." "Acceptable. However, defeat will result in immediate species termination order. Victory ... The alien paused. "Victory will grant your species provisional status pending further evaluation." Santos felt the weight of humanity's future settling on her shoulders. Everything depended on the next hour. Through their communication network, she quickly briefed her team. "Chun, how long do you need to crack their weapon systems?" "Give me 10 minutes with their equipment," Chun replied. "I think I can level the playing field." "Williams, Rodriguez, standard room clearing tactics apply?" These aliens move differently than humans, but they still have to obey physics. Mitchell, you and I take point. Everyone else supports. The arena they were led to was different from the testing chamber, smaller, more confined, with multiple levels and cover positions. It resembled an urban combat zone more than an open battlefield. The 5 alien warriors who entered the opposite side of the arena were clearly elite troops. They moved with perfect coordination and carried advanced energy weapons. Their equipment was sleek, efficient, and obviously designed for maximum lethality. What they hadn't anticipated was facing opponents who had trained for urban warfare against hostile forces their entire professional lives. Weapons available in floor caches, the overseer announced. Engagement begins on signal. The countdown started. Santos and her team spread out immediately, using cover and concealment techniques that their opponents clearly didn't expect. The aliens had positioned themselves for optimal firing lanes, assuming their enemies would advance directly toward them. Instead, the humans disappeared. Chun reached the first weapons cache and began rapidly analyzing the available equipment. Human weapons were crude but familiar. The alien energy weapons were more advanced but operated on principles he could understand from their previous testing. Santos, I've got modified human ballistic weapons and captured alien tech, Chun reported. The energy weapons have a charge cycle delay, about half a second between shots. Copy that. Everyone remember, these aliens think linearly. They expect us to fight like they do. The engagement began with the aliens advancing in perfect formation. Energy weapons ready, expecting to face opponents who would match their tactical approach. Instead, they found themselves fighting ghosts. Williams had taken a position on the upper level, using his infantry training to establish overlapping fields of fire. Rodriguez moved through the lower corridors, using his knowledge of urban combat to stay ahead of the aliens' movement patterns. Mitchell and Santos worked as a team, using hand signals and coordinated movement to stay one step ahead of their opponent's tactical predictions. The aliens' first mistake was assuming their superior technology would compensate for tactical disadvantage. Their energy weapons were more powerful than human ballistic weapons, but they required direct line of sight and had predictable firing patterns. Santos used her SEAL training to exploit these weaknesses. She appeared just long enough to draw fire, then disappeared before the aliens could adjust their aim. Meanwhile, Mitchell moved through positions they had never considered, approaching from angles their formation couldn't cover. Contact left, Williams called out as he engaged one of the alien warriors from his elevated position. The alien's energy weapon was powerful, but Williams had learned from their testing sessions how to predict the firing pattern. Rodriguez flanked 2 aliens who were trying to pin down Santos' position. His approach used cover and concealment, techniques developed for fighting in urban environments against technologically superior enemies. The aliens found themselves facing exactly the kind of asymmetric warfare that human military doctrine had perfected through centuries of conflict. Chun had modified one of the alien energy weapons, increasing its firing rate by bypassing several safety protocols. When he engaged the alien formation from an unexpected angle, his modified weapon provided firepower that matched theirs while maintaining the tactical mobility that their training emphasized. The battle lasted only 12 minutes. The aliens fought with discipline and advanced technology, but they had no experience fighting opponents who refused to engage on their terms. Santos' team used movement, deception, and coordinated tactics to systematically isolate and defeat each alien warrior. When the last alien fighter fell, the humans controlled the arena completely. The observing aliens were silent for several minutes. Their confident assumptions about human capabilities had been shattered twice, first by technological adaptation, then by tactical superiority that their own military couldn't match. Assessment requires revision, the lead researcher finally announced. Combat performance exceeds all established parameters. Santos stepped forward, her team maintaining alert positions around her. This is what you don't understand about humans. We don't fight to conquer. We fight to protect. Every technique you just witnessed was developed by people defending their homes, their families, their way of life. Your species demonstrates capabilities that pose significant risks to Alliance stability, one of the robed officials repeated. Then change the Alliance, Mitchell suggested bluntly. If you're so worried about human capabilities, why not make us your allies instead of your enemies? The aliens exchanged rapid communications among themselves. Through their body language, Santos could see significant disagreement among the leadership. Alliance. Protocol has no provision for voluntary integration of recently contacted species, the lead researcher explained. Then, make new protocols, Santos replied. You've just seen that humans adapt to new situations. Maybe it's time for the Galaxy Alliance to do the same. Chun stepped forward with something in his hands, a device he'd been constructing throughout their captivity. I've been studying your technology. Your ships, your weapons, your computer systems. They're incredibly advanced, but they're not as efficient as they could be. He activated the device, and a holographic display appeared showing Alliance ship designs with human modifications integrated into them. Human engineering approaches could increase your fleet efficiency by 30%. Our tactical doctrines could revolutionize your military capabilities. Our adaptability could solve problems that linear thinking can't handle. You're offering technological cooperation? The researcher asked. We're offering partnership, Santos corrected. Humans work better with allies than as subjects or enemies. The debate among the alien leadership continued for what felt like hours. The 5 humans waited, knowing that humanity's fate hung in the balance. Finally, the lead researcher approached them. The Galaxy Alliance Council has reached a decision. Humanity will be granted provisional membership status.